Sorry about that. The video reach is 5 minute limit, so it cut out by itself. All right, so we have to heat this thing back up, and then fill in the all of the voids with solder paste, with solder. That way, we'll be sure that we have a really good bond that's completely filled. You see how I can just feed the solder in. It is very hard to do this on camera. Alright, so you just kind of have to fill it in with the solder. And if, at some point, you're going to have to reheat it back up. That way, it'll stay heated. And then just fill it in. You'll be amazed at how much solder you can fill because there is so much gap. Alright. There you go. Alright, so you kind of just, poke at it a little bit and you see that it's floating, but okay, good, right there. You can tell that it's floating and it's completely filled with solder. So I didn't keep track, but it was quite a bit. Maybe perhaps that much of solder is needed to completely fill in all the air voids. And that's how you get a really good, complete, solid, thick fill. That's how you effectively create a really thick shelf effectively, by filling in all of the voids. All right, let me bring this pill here to my ventilation and let it cool. All right, why don't we just let that one sit and then we just do another one so you can kind of see what's going on there if you didn't catch that the first time. Alright, heat it up. You will see, initially, you'll see that the solder melts. There you go. That's the initial bond. And then you want to fill it with more solder. Yeah, it takes a lot of solder to fill in the gap. And make sure that you line up the hole so that you don't block it. So there you go. This one is now filled. Alright, let's put this one away into the vent. So cool. And then we'll take a look at this pill here. Flip it over. And you can see that none of the solder actually flow onto this side. So that's really good. If there is, you're going to have to take a little knife and scrape it off and prep this surface here so that you can now bond. You can also solder bond the LED. So you see here the LED is mounted to the MCPCB here, and then we'll also solder bond this together. All right. Of course, after we clean the surface here, then we'll bond this LED on its MCPCBs onto here. That way, you have a continuous chunk of metal for the LED to heatsink to. So it heatsinks very well if you do it this way. And I find it, let me turn off the ventilation system here. So I find this method really effective because prior to doing all the complete solder bonding here, certain times I would get an LED that tint shift because it doesn't heatsink very well. But by heatsinking, by solder bonding every single component here, you effectively the LED effectively sits on a complete fill solid chunk of metal, and that's how it heatsink very well, and it'll handle the extra current that we need to push the limit a little bit farther. All right. Whew. I hope that went well. If anything doesn't make any sense, just put it in the comments and I'll explain. But yeah, I guess that's the best I can explain. All right. Have a good night.